Red Bull has finally unveiled its new car for the 2024 season, and it looks like the team has been busy during the off-season. Despite the scandal involving Christian Horner and the ongoing investigation, the team hopes to continue its dominance from the previous two seasons and make Verstappen a four-time consecutive world champion. However, with the RB20 showing some resemblance to the W15, the 2024 season could pose a bigger challenge for the Austrian team. Moreover, the rest of the grid might have made significant improvements to compete for race wins. The RB20's evolution was evident as soon as it hit the track for the shakedown at Silverstone. The team's chief designer, Adrian Newey, and his team have worked tirelessly to set new standards in the sport and outsmart their rivals. One of the most noticeable parts of the new car is the front wing, which starts from the nose cone and extends to the level of the leading edge of the wing. The team has tried to exploit the larger lateral surface of the nose cone to enhance the outwash of the airflow. This shows that Red Bull can always find more performance by tweaking some of the most active aerodynamic parts. The striking look of the front wing also suggests that there could be a bigger upgrade in performance from the RB20. However, Red Bull is not the only team that has made changes to the front wing. Mercedes has also introduced a new iteration of its own, with different shapes of the wing planes. This indicates that there is a silent aerodynamic war going on between these two teams ahead of the upcoming season. The front wing is not the only striking part of Red Bull's new car. Verstappen said on his live stream that the car would look exactly the same, but he probably meant only the livery. The images from Silverstone in the launch reveal some major changes in the core of the car. The side pods, which have been one of Red Bull's strengths, have seen an evolution in their concept. They are now closing the inlets to the extreme and disappearing under the large lip that is placed at the level of the upper edge of the side pod. The profile tapers down in a straight line pattern towards the rear, which resembles the profile of the second version of the W14. This is one of the two things that the experts have noticed to be very similar to the BPEC version of the Silver Arrows 2023 car. The other one is the profile of the base of the engine cover, which is characterized by two bazookas with a circular section, or what experts like to call a bulbous design. These are strongly inclined downwards to deflect the blowing of the hot air towards the beam wing. In addition, the air scoop has undergone a major modification for the 2024 season. It now has a more squared section, while the volume of the engine cover is also much wider than its predecessor. What do all of these changes mean? Obviously, they are an upgrade in the aerodynamic surfaces, meaning that the Austrian team has paid a lot of attention to set standards that won't be matched by the rest of the grid. But considering the fact that we saw some of these solutions on cars like the W15 and the MCL38, it is safe to assume that Red Bull might not have the desired advantage, which came from them inventing solutions and the rest of the grid slowly but surely applying them to their own cars. However, the changes I just mentioned were not optional for the RB20, as they were a direct consequence of the extreme concept of the side pods, with the inlets positioned high and shielded by the upper lip. In order to create the large channel under the pods so that the car could blow the direct flow to the rear axle, the RB20 has seen a remake of two very important parts that would allow the engineers to achieve this goal: the radiators and coolers. All of these changes come at a very interesting time, because in the past couple of months, Newey expressed fears of building a car that was too conservative. But from what we saw with the RB20, it seems like the car is anything but. The engineering masterminds at Red Bull have undoubtedly sacrificed every element to achieve the aerodynamic greatness with the RB20. But whether this is enough for the drivers and the team to not feel distracted from what is currently going on with Horner, time will tell. What the team cannot hope for this time is originality, as they had in the past 2 years. Because, as Newey said, the limit that the current regulation era puts on the teams is inevitably pushing the entire grid towards one scenario: having cars that look more or less the same, with the only difference being the color of them. There is no doubt that Red Bull has already made some changes that will raise some eyebrows in the paddock. And their adoption of ideas from teams like Mercedes and McLaren do give us a bit of hope that maybe 2024 won't be as boring as its previous season. But obviously, when a team takes an extreme approach with things, they could turn two ways: extremely good or extremely bad. For Mercedes, it was the second one. But Red Bull would have to see whether or not following a conservative way and opting for something bold was the right thing to do for the upcoming 2 seasons. Let us also remind you that the cars we are going to see for the majority of the 2024 season are going to be more or less the same for the 2025 campaign, as well as the main focus will be put on 2026 and the new regulations that will be set in place in the sport. According to Newey, the 2024 season will have a lot of similar cars to the RB19, and it is up to them to show that the third evolution of the RB18 is going to be the one to beat. Adding to this matter even further, the mastermind of Red Bull said, "This year, from what I understand, a lot of people, our rivals, have kind of taken a good look this time and have probably come. I expect there will be quite a few cars that look very similar to our car. Our car will be very much a third evolution of the 2022 car. So last year's car was an evolution of the 2022 in the main points being the normal winter development in terms of aerodynamics, some understanding of what we need to do with the suspension to try to improve the car as well, and getting weight out of it because we never got down to the weight limits in 2022. This year's car is the third evolution of that original RB18. But what we don't know, of course, is whether the third evolution is too conservative, while others have done something different. You just don't know. It's a difficult one. This is that question of whether we should have a group that goes out and looks at completely left field ideas, or do we keep developing the route we've taken? Furthermore, Newey stressed one very important factor that the media and the fans seem to have related with every team not named Red Bull. But it is seemingly catching up to the Austrian team too: the limitations of resources. The fact that the regulations remain the same and the cars have zero to no wiggle room to change something drastic in order to make a bold leap in the championship shows that whoever is first should be caught up quicker than it took for, let's say, Mercedes, for example, back in the turbo hybrid era. The budget cap also plays a huge role in Red Bull's favor, because the rest of the grid cannot spend as much money as they want in order to bring the car in the most preferred operating window. But it seems like teams like McLaren do not need the vast amount of money to threaten Red Bull for wins, as Zach Brown has already sent a fierce warning that the MCL38 won't be on the grid to finish second. They've done that for the majority of the 2023 season. They are here to attack the championship and make sure to give one of their young two drivers a season to remember." Elaborating on this matter further, the boss of McLaren went on to say, "I don't think Red Bull is far away. We've had another good offseason. But you never know what the other 9 teams have done. We certainly have drivers capable of winning races, and we certainly have a team capable of winning races. And the second half of last year, we had a race car that was pretty close to winning races. We've built a faster race car in the offseason, so we'll have to wait and see. We don't know what the other teams have done, but winning is certainly our ambition. Second places were great last year, but we've had enough of them to be ready for that top step." All of this prompts worry inside Red Bull's camp, especially if rumors are to be believed regarding Horner's investigation being dragged even after the beginning of the season, and the Verstappen family taking a stance against the team principal and the CEO of Red Bull. With this in mind, do you think that the RB20 will breeze past the grid like they did in 2023, something that was heavily denied by both Newey and Horner? And if not, which team do you think has the biggest potential to dethrone them? Let us know in the comments below.